Hi everyone, Jessica here from Paper Ink Stamp and welcome back to another card making video. So today we're looking at issue 91 of Creative Stamping. So this comes with an A4 stamp set along with an embossing folder. So this month's free gifts are by Crafter's Companion, and this set is called Crafting with Friends. So this is part of a much bigger collection by Crafter's Companion called Crafty Fun. So you can pick up lots of other products that would match this set. So if you did really love it, there are additional stamps and dies and other embossing folders and embellishments and things that you can purchase as well. So let's take a look in the magazine itself again at some of the inspiration. So they've got loads of inspiration in here, lots of different kinds of cards, and of course because then you've got the embossing folder as well, you can create loads of other kinds of projects as well. So it's showing you in here creating a masked collage, which is part of what we're going to be doing today. Of course, using that embossing folder, cutting bits out. It also comes with this really fun mug with some whipped cream, and you can kind of build a little scene with that as well. It also shows you how to create words using the letters. So when I first looked at the large, what I thought said create, I thought, oh, they've made a spelling mistake. But it actually says here that it's designed to be cut up so you can use the letters separately to create different words. So you can create the word create or craft, or they've used T here as well. So I think that kind of is the idea, to separate it and then, make whatever words you want from that. But again, loads of different kinds of projects. If, of course, you are a crafter, then you can make different kinds of projects. Really great, decorate your craft space, of course, for other crafty friends and family as well. And it's got lots of different kinds of crafts. So it has got sewing, it's got card making, it has got painting and things like that. And I really love, how it's all sort of come together. You can use it together, but of course you can use everything separately then as well. So looking ahead to next month's issue, we have got this all sorts of a sport stamp set. So this is going to be perfect for creating more masculine cards as well. Sometimes we don't always have supplies for those kinds of cards that we need to create. So this is going to be perfect. Then you've got those sporty silhouettes as well. And I believe this is by Hunkydory. So that they're going to be really great stamps. But let's get into today's card making project. So today's card, we're going to be making a bridge card, and I wanted to use this embossing folder for the background of the centre of the card, so I made sure that was big enough to be able to then mat and layer in as well. So I've got my embossing folder, so I wanted to use all of these elements together today, and what I'm going to do is, rather than just running the embossing folder through the die cut machine, maybe with some coloured cardstock or things like that, I'm actually going to ink up the embossing folder itself. So I'm going to do a rainbow pattern. So I'm taking my Prism ink pads here, and I'm just going down in a rainbow order, and then we are going to be able to put that through our die cut machine. So the only section that I would maybe say between the yellow and the red, it obviously didn't sort of blend together sort of smoothly, and when then you see our finished result, it does have quite a harsh line. So what I would recommend is you could maybe use your blending tool and then just blend those colours through a little bit. Of course, you could put the orange, which would make the transition a little bit more smooth, or you could just use a paper towel or something and just kind of try and mix those sort of colours together. But I wasn't really too kind of bothered by the results. I did run it back through the die cut machine a second time with a little bit of orange on there, but again, this is mainly just for the background. So when I've got all of that inked up nicely, like I said, I'm going to run that through my Gemini die cut machine. So the colour then is going to transfer onto our cardstock, and then the words that have been embossed into the card are going to stay white. So this is a really great technique for stretching the use of your embossing folders and just making something a little bit more creative. So to decorate the card and create a matte and layer, I'm using this Hunkydory Gingham Mirri card. So I picked this up from the range. They've got a clearance sale going on at the moment. They had a couple of craft items in there. So I think I picked up this book for, I think it was £2.80. There's 24 sheets in the pack. You've got different colours in there in this Mirri style. I just thought it was really nice and something a little bit different than what I usually use. So I picked up 2 packs. I've got this one and then more of a floral design as well. So you can see that I've cut 2 strips to go along the front section, and then I've got that matte and layer to go in the middle. So all of this I'm just attaching with my tape runner, so there's not going to be any sort of dimension or anything here. And then when I come to pop my embossed panel on, I wanted to create just a little bit of dimension there, so I'm going to use just some regular shaker foam. So at the moment I don't have many big foam pads, so I just popped enough on the back just to help sort of stabilize this. So once I've got all of that peeled off, then I can go ahead and pop that in the middle of our card, and I just think it looks really nice with that kind of rainbow and then that kind of toned down Mirri look to it as well. So for the bridge portion of my card, I wanted to make it up using a lot of the images within this stamp set. So to begin with, I just measured the front of the card, so the width of the front, and I've cut a piece of cardstock down to be that same length. So I know that I want to have some of the images kind of hanging off the edge of that, and it's going to give us a really nice sort of full bridge look. So also ahead of time, I created some masks for the images that I knew I wanted to use. So you can see these sort of blue post-it masks here. So I've just used some, like I said, some post-it notes. These are the full sticky back post-it notes, and these are great for creating masks. So I'm going to keep these with the stamp set, and I can use them time and time again. So by creating masks, it means that I can stamp one image to make it look like it's behind other images. So you can see here that I popped the mask on top of the ink pad and a couple of buttons, and of course then that die cutting machine. And then when I take the masks off, it's going to make it look like those items are sat in front of that painter's palette. So what's really great about creating masks is you can keep these and you can get a couple of uses from them. So I'm definitely going to keep these with this stamp set, and it means that then I can stamp lots of these images together to create one big stamped image, rather than maybe stamping all of these individually and then trying to piece them kind of together. So you can see that I'm just working from the middle and I'm going out to the sides, and I'm just stamping images, popping the masks over the top. So a couple of the images I did stamp and create doubles of. So these buttons, they have got doubles, and the ink pads, I did stamp 2 of those as well. And it just means then that if you had a couple of these items next to each other, then you have got, you know, a couple more masks. So you can see under that big stamping platform, and you can see where I'm taking those images off, you can see that those are in front of that stamping platform. So I want as much as possible to kind of overlap each other here, and that's going to give us a really nice solid kind of bridge. I really love the images that come included in this. Like I said at the beginning, it is going to cover a lot of different kinds of crafts. So sewing, painting, obviously card making. I really love that some of these go really well together. So you have that die cut machine along with kind of a die cutting plate with a die cut, which is the image that I just stamped. So I know I've seen an image within the magazine itself showing those 2 items being used together, and I just think it created something really, really great. So you can see that I'm just filling in a few of the gaps with some of the small items like the buttons. It's just going to fill in some of those sections, and I'm not too worried about sort of masking and things. I'm just kind of offsetting them with the other images. So I did say at the beginning that this set is part of a much bigger collection by Crafter's Companion, and I did see at the time of filming this, so it's the 21st of December 2020, I did see that on the Crafter's Companion website itself, they have got a lot of the rest of the range actually reduced on sale at the moment. So if you do really love this sort of crafting collection, then you could go onto their website and pick up a few additional items that will go with this. So like I said, they do embossing folders, they do embellishments, they do other stamps and things. So if you do really love this collection, like I said, you could head over to their website and see what you can pick up on sale. So now that I've stamped all of my images, so you can really see how this has come together, how it looks like just a whole bundle of different craft supplies all sat on top of each other, and I think this makes a really great bridge for this card. So now I'm just going to colour these in, so I'm not doing anything kind of too fancy. I am using a combination of my TriBlend markers and then that set of Copic markers that I have got. So this is a really great opportunity to get kind of really colourful kinds of images, of course, because it's craft supplies. Of course, you can colour any sort of colours that you want, but it's just really great because you could make it, you know, as colourful as you want to do. If you're making this for somebody who loves a particular sort of, you know, set of colours, maybe they always make their cards the same kind of following the same colour scheme. Of course, you could customise it to kind of fit in. So if you had a die cutting machine, maybe it's like a limited edition one, it's a particular set of colours. You know, you could then colour that in the same and just, like I said, make it a little bit more personal. So like I said, I'm just colouring this in. Some of these I'm not even really doing any shading on, things like that. I'm trying to make it as kind of realistic as possible. So of course the palette I have coloured in brown, and the same with those paintbrushes as well. And I will just add a little colour onto the ends of it as if, you know, they are being used as actual paintbrushes. I did want to make this as colourful as possible, of course, because our embossed background panel is quite colourful because we've used the rainbows on this. So yeah, I'm just trying to get in as many of the colours as possible. And now having the full range of TriBlend markers as well means that I can do that, and there's lots of different colours to choose from. So with the colouring, of course, it is quite time consuming when you're colouring a lot of images like this. So I have just skipped forward a little bit. Really nothing sort of to miss here. But you can see how this is really coming together. So things, again, like that die-cut machine, you know, you could make it to look like a realistic brand, or you could just pretty much do whatever you want, like I have here. But I really love how these images kind of come together. Obviously, being a card maker, it's always fun to kind of, you know, make cards for other card makers and other sort of like crafty kinds of people, and really kind of have that set to be, you know, something they can kind of relate to. So once I had everything stamped and coloured, then I am just going to cut this out, and I'm following the design of this. So I wanted it not to be sort of really straightforward. I wanted it to have some sections that were higher and you know, lower down, because I knew that I wanted to fussy cut around this whole banner. And like regular fussy cutting, I'm just leaving as even of a white border as I possibly can. So I have stamped this onto some thicker cardstock. So this is a cut off from my actual card base that I created, and I used then the Hunkydory 300 GSM cardstock. So I used the A3 sheet. So this is from the super size pad, and like I said, it's just a cut off. So this is 300 GSM. So it's going to be really great and strong, and it's going to hold our card together really well. But I love fussy cutting this, like I said, creating sort of one big image rather than having lots of little images that you have to kind of fussy cut around each individual piece. And then sometimes I think that just makes your card so much bigger. Whereas if you can create masks for your images and kind of create one bigger image, it is going to save you so much time as well, because you're not then colouring bits of your images that perhaps you aren't going to see. So it does sort of save time generally. So you can see how this is going to come together. So you can still see that embossed panel in the background, but then you've got all of those crafty items in the foreground. So I didn't want to make it any sort of thicker than this. I think this was a really great size. And I'm just going to make sure that I'm going to put tape only on the sections that is going to be on those side panels. You don't want to get any sort of glue off those sections, because if you were to put this through the post, potentially then your sort of bridge might stick to your background. So you want to make sure you're only putting adhesive where it's actually going to touch the sides. So the last thing our card needs is a sentiment. So there's some really great crafty relating sentiments in here. So the one that I'm going to use is have a crafty birthday, but you have got things like sending crafty hugs. So again, you could probably use these for different kinds of occasions. So I'm just going to stamp this onto some white cardstock. I am going to do a little bit of ink blending over the top of it in a minute, just to help that kind of blend in a little bit more so it's not so stark white. I'm going to use my stamping platform for this, just to make sure that I get a really great impression. So you can see the first time I stamp it, it's just a little bit blotchy. So I am going to stamp it a few times just to get a really great impression. So once I've stamped this, I'm just going to use some clear embossing powder, and I'm just going to heat set this sentiment. I'm just going to add a little bit of shine to it, and it's going to stop it from, you know, potentially smudging when I do a little bit of ink blending over the top. So just dunk it straight into the clear embossing powder, heat set that, and then I'm going to fussy cut around this sentiment. So around that sort of have A, where it's quite thin, but it's in capital letters, I wanted to keep that as straight as possible because all the letters are the same height. But then for the rest of it, where you've got that really nice sort of script kind of font, I'm just sort of fussy cutting around that, following the design of the words itself. And then I'm going to take a little bit of this jelly bean, and I'm really lightly going to just ink blend over the top of it. It's going to be a little bit heavier just on the edges, but it's just going to give it that hint of pink, just like I said, so it's not sort of so stark white across our card. So the last thing to do is to pop this sentiment on, and then our card is finished. So I really love how this came out. I love creating that bridge using all of those different images and creating one big image. And I just love how colourful it is. And of course, because it's card making and crafty related, of course I love it even more. So this was Creative Stamping Magazine issue 91. So again, this was called Crafting with Friends by Crafter's Companion. I will pop a link to the supplies that I've used in the description box down below, along with a link to my blog if you want to go and check that out. So if you did like this card, then please give this video a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below. If you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please do so you don't miss out on any future videos. So I'd like to wish you all a very happy Christmas, and to everyone to stay safe. So that's it for today's video. Thanks very much for watching, and happy crafting.